Iva Toguri was born on July 4, 1916 in Los Angeles, California, an American girl through and through. She grew up in a modest neighborhood, the daughter of hardworking Japanese immigrant parents who believed deeply in education and opportunity. Iva was bright, athletic, and determined. She loved tennis, had a sharp wit, and in 1941 she graduated from UCLA with a degree in zoology, dreaming of one day becoming a doctor. That summer, her family asked her to travel to Japan to care for an ailing aunt. It was meant to be a brief trip, a few months, perhaps a year at most. She packed her bags, boarded a ship across the Pacific, and arrived in a country that was foreign to her in language, culture, and daily life. But her timing could not have been worse. Only months later, on December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Overnight, the United States and Japan were at war. Borders slammed shut. Travel across the ocean became impossible. Iva found herself trapped thousands of miles from home, an American citizen in enemy territory. Her refusal to renounce her U.S. citizenship put her in a dangerous position. The Japanese authorities viewed her with suspicion. She was denied ration cards, which meant finding enough to eat became a constant struggle. She moved between small jobs just to survive, tutoring, clerical work, anything that would put food on the table. But the war dragged on, and survival in Tokyo grew more desperate with each passing month. In 1943, a chance opportunity came her way. Radio Tokyo was seeking English-speaking staff for a new propaganda program called the 0 Hour. The show's purpose was to demoralize Allied troops in the Pacific by mixing news reports, music, and commentary. Iva began as a typist, but was soon asked to step behind the microphone. She was given the on-air name Orphan Ann. Her voice was warm, playful, and distinctly American. She played jazz, swing, and big band records, music she knew the soldiers loved. Between songs, she read scripted propaganda messages written by Japanese military officials. But whenever she could, she kept the tone light, almost mocking the scripts she had to read. She avoided direct insults toward the United States and often slipped in jokes or harmless banter. Some Allied soldiers later admitted they tuned in for the music and her friendly voice, not the propaganda. The nickname, Tokyo Rose, wasn't hers, and it wasn't unique to one person. Allied servicemen used it as a catch-all name for any English-speaking female broadcaster from Japan. There were multiple women doing similar radio work during the war, but after Japan's surrender in 1945, the legend of Tokyo Rose began to focus on a single face, Iva Toguri. In September 1945, two American reporters in Tokyo approached her with an offer. A $2,000 in exchange for an exclusive interview with the real Tokyo Rose. Believing it to be a chance to clear her name and maybe earn enough to return home, she agreed. But their stories exaggerated her role, painting her as the seductive voice of Japanese propaganda and the symbol of betrayal for American soldiers. The legend grew, and public opinion in the U.S. hardened against her. When she finally returned to the United States in 1948, she was met not with welcome, but with arrest. She was charged with 8 counts of treason, making her the first American woman ever tried for the crime. Her trial in 1949 became one of the longest and most expensive in U.S. history at the time. The case against her was weak. Much of the prosecution's evidence rested on the testimony of former colleagues from Radio Tokyo. Years later, several witnesses admitted they had been pressured or bribed to lie. Even so, in a tense courtroom, the jury convicted her on 1 count, for allegedly making a single treasonous broadcast in which she spoke against the United States. The judge sentenced her to 10 years in prison and a 10,000 fine. She served more than 6 years before being released in 1956. After prison, Iva sought a quiet life away from the headlines. She moved to Chicago, married, and helped run her husband's small business. She avoided interviews, kept her head down, and lived in relative obscurity. But the shadow of Tokyo Rose never truly left her. Over the years, journalists, historians, and veterans began to re-examine her case. They uncovered inconsistencies, false testimony, and the sensationalism that had fueled her prosecution. It became clear that Iva had been less a traitor and more a victim, caught in a web of wartime hysteria, political pressure, and media exaggeration. In 1977, after decades of silence and campaigning by her supporters, President Gerald Ford granted her a full presidential pardon. It was a symbolic but powerful acknowledgement that her conviction had been unjust. She was 61 years old, having carried the burden of a name and a myth for more than half her life. Iva Toguri lived quietly for nearly 30 more years, passing away in 2006 at the age of 90. The myth of Tokyo Rose still lingers in history books, but the truth is more complex. She was an American trapped by circumstance, surviving in a hostile land, and punished for being a symbol rather than for any real act of treason. Her story remains a lesson in how easily truth can be lost in the fog of war, and how long it can take for justice to find its way back.